I have a list that I created for myself to check if a company is really customer-centric or not.
Okay, now I'm curious.
And you could do that at a very high level kind of way. I say, are they measuring customer satisfaction? Are they talking about the customers? Is customer happiness one of the strategic pillars? I don't look at that because everyone has that. That doesn't make the difference.
No annual reports, you don't read them?
No, I look for symbols of extreme customer centricity. And I have 3 of them. First thing that I check is, how does a company deal with opposing interests? An opposing interest means that you as a customer have a different interest than me as your client. Imagine a bank. Imagine that I have a bank account somewhere, but I don't use that bank account anymore. I've forgotten about it. It's something from my past, but I still automatically pay that bank a yearly fee. What do you do if you are the management of a bank? Do you call them and say, Steven, you have this account, you had it for 7 years, you're paying us. This is not good. We're going to repay you for those 7 years because you didn't use it. Or do you decide to be very silent because it's very easy money? That's an opposing interest. How do you react? Airbnb that decided in January 2021, when there were big issues in Washington, D.C. in the United States, they decided to check every place that they rented out. And if they thought that they had people that would cause problem in their capital, they canceled that reservation.
Wow.
Even though they lost money, they didn't want to be responsible for riots and vandalism in the city. It's an opposing interest, but they chose to do the right thing and lose money because of that. What do you do when there's an opposing interest? That's number 1. First thing that I look at is, how do you deal with complaints where it is uncertain who made the mistake? Imagine me as a client, I come to your company and say, Leslie at Hello Customer, I'm not happy. The results of your surveys are unclear and it's obvious that you've done something wrong.
Which of course never happens.
It never happens. We all know that. So you think, this is strange, this feedback. Maybe let's try to see what really happened. How do you deal with a situation when there's a complaint and it's unclear what happens? Some organizations start an in-depth investigation, trying to figure out who made the mistake. And they spend a week to figure out who made the mistake. That's what they do first.
Instead of
fixing it and getting the learnings afterwards. Of course, you can figure out what went wrong and have a conversation about it. But if you fix it first and then you do your investigation, then you're more customer-centric than the other way around. That's number 2. Number 3 is the amount of empowerment that the frontline staff gets from the management is number 3. If a complaint comes in, if something goes wrong that isn't written down in some process, how far can those individual employees go to help a customer? One of my favorite examples is from the Ritz-Carlton. All employees that work in a hotel have the freedom to compensate customers when something goes wrong up to $2,000.
Wow.
And the good thing is there's a line in the sand. If it's more complex, they cannot go beyond that. So they cannot do anything. There's a limit to $2,000, but it's quite a range that you have. But it's important to have a limit, because if you tell your employees it's unlimited, then they won't believe you and they will be scared to do anything. So at Ritz-Carlton, it's very clear. $2,000 is your range that you can work with, which means that if you come into a room and you see that your bed hasn't been made up properly, and you go outside and you talk to someone from the housekeeping team and you tell them that, they will fix that. But they have the authority, the freedom, maybe to give you a bottle of champagne to compensate, or to put a box with chocolates in the room to compensate for that. They have that freedom. And in many organizations, if you have a complaint and you ask someone, is this something that we could do, or this is something that didn't make me happy? Usually the answer is, let me call my manager. I hate that when that happens. Just help me. I don't want to talk to a manager. I want to be helped. And if you give your team the freedom to do that, wow, customers just love that. So that's my checklist: opposing interests, fixing or investigating, and the empowerment, the level of empowerment of your frontline team.